Good morning. Good morning. Everyone, welcome to the Chicago Real Estate Update, Monday Morning Coffee with Kyle and Ann. I'm Ann, here with my dear friend and colleague, Kyle Harvey. We sell real estate in downtown Chicago, and we love to dish on what's going on in the market. So, Kyle, happy. You've got an on your minds thing to talk about today. Some good news to share. We're also going to talk about what's happening with the statistics and update, and then we're going to talk about Lincoln Park in detail. What's really happening with Lincoln Park?
Yes.
So. And are you ready to go to stats? I didn't do a whole stats thing. I have to warn you.
I love your stats. No matter what you do, never downplay the stats. I learn. Let's go.
Oh, that's nice. Okay. Well, so let me intro everybody. Usually I go through like how many closed, how many are under contract, that kind of thing. And I did that last week for the first quarter of the year. So I'm not going to do that today. Everybody knows, Kyle, there's no inventory. Sales are down because there's no inventory in both condos, co-ops attached, as well as single family homes. So knowing all that,
yes,
we're going to do just a quick look at some neighborhoods and prices. And let me get rid of our names.
You could make wallpaper out of that.
Right? I know. Okay. So this is, believe it or not, this is sales of single family homes by neighborhood. The blue at the top, the blue line is the near north side, which is Gold Coast, River North, Streeterville. The red line is Lincoln Park. Then you've got the near south side and Westtown in orange. And because both of the near north and the near south have very few single family homes, you see this weird up and down thing. So I should have done a slide without those two, but here's the curious thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the blue line, that's near north, they've only seen a 4% appreciation in 10 years on single family homes. But I think that's because some new construction, single family, has been built a little west, but still within the 8008 area. I think it's because you'll see low prices when properties that need to be rehabbed sell, right? And it's just, I mean, do you have any more thoughts on that?
I do. So the houses that you're talking about generally in 8008 that are like that are either the fancy, relatively fancy, expensive houses in River North, the area around Superior, and there are a bunch of very expensive houses there. But there's also, are these the ones that are also in 8008? Where are these? The ones that are filling in some of the former, the ones on Oak and the west that are filling in former project sites.
Yes.
CHA projects that are less expensive. And once they're built, then you know what, when you have new construction, the first sale, the new sale is always the highest, and then the second sale is usually a little bit lower.
Right.
And lower as people don't do work on it to keep them updated. So that's sort of, I think, why some of these, because this is 2016, so all of these houses would have been built pretty much, not as much new construction. Is that your sense?
Yeah, and we'll get into this more next week when we talk near north. But if you look at the orange, that's Westtown. Single family homes are up 53%. And if you look at Lincoln Park, single family homes are up 54%.
Well, Westtown makes great sense. There's so many great neighborhoods emerging in Westtown.
And it's $1.3 million. So as the, so that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're moving over. Lakeview is up 63% at $1,850,000 median sales price. North Center's following at $1.7 million. It's only up 15%, which I This said, no, excuse me, 15% in 1 year,
Yes,
38% in 10 years.
yes.
And then check out Uptown. Well, you and I
Wow.
were talking about Uptown condos before going on air. Single family homes in Uptown up 81%
Wow.
to a median sales price of $1.3 million. Well, don't you think everybody's leaving Lakeview when they can't find anything reasonable? They're just moving up a neighborhood.
Yes. Buena Park's in Uptown, right?
Yeah,
And
that's got
that's
hot, hot, hot.
hot, hot, hot. And older houses, but big lots and yards
Yeah.
and right by the lake, near
Right.
transportation, really good properties.
Right. For those of you who aren't exactly sure of the location, think of Irving Park to like Montrose and east of Broadway. So that's, right at the lake, old, beautiful homes. And then there's some other homes in Uptown as well. There's some new construction, beautiful new single families. So Uptown's, it's doing it. And then Logan Square.
Finally doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Logan
no,
Square up 74%. It's not a slouchy neighborhood either. Median sales price of 1,150. So it's still approachable price wise. So,
but
all
that's
right. So let's move over. Now we're going to talk attached condos, co-ops, townhomes. And in this slide, our leader of the pack is Lincoln Park. It is median sales price of $745 for a condo, which is insane in my book. That's up 50% in 10 years. So it's appreciated as much as single family homes. You know how people used to say, oh, it's not worth it to buy a condo. They don't hold their value. I beg to differ.
I think some of Lincoln Park's boost in condo prices is some of the very high end
Yes.
buildings.
And we'll get into that in a minute, but yeah, that's definitely right.
There's a real investment in high end multi-million-dollar condos.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Hmm.
So Westtown,
Woo!
yeah, 635 median sales price up 48%. Near North up 13%. And that's in large part because of the studios and one bedrooms on the near north side. And then the Loop is up 1.9% to 407.5. All right. Last slide. This is the northern neighborhoods. North Center condos up 60%. Logan Square condos up 69% with a median sales price of $657.
Wow.
How about that?
Wow.
Lakeview 530 up 12%. No, 12% in 1 year, 47% in 10 years. And Uptown is now 364.5, which is up 52%. So
wait, going back to North Center, are these townhouses mainly? I don't see so many condos in my vision of North Center, but I guess there are.
There are, and they're doing a lot of that new construction with the 3-unit building with the expensive duplex and the expensive third floor 2-story with the roof deck.
Got it. Yes.
So that's what's driving it. And then you've got people who want to be in those school districts of Coonley, Bell, Hamilton, whatever, and they can't afford a single family home, so they go into these 3 and 4 bedroom condos at higher prices. Yeah.
That's also happening in Lincoln Park for Lincoln. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have what's on your mind? You want me to bring that up?
Sure. Fun. Just what's on our minds this morning. So these stories caught my attention this week. Winnetka is considering an Airbnb ban. Very interesting. Vrbo, Airbnb. Short-term. There was a realtor in the Real Masters. The Roger Brown house on Halstead in Lincoln Park sold to a rehabber. And the Michael Jordan estate in Highland Park is one of the very, very sad real estate stories.
Oh, no. Oh, no. I can't wait to hear.
good. It's so good. Okay, so Winnetka is leery of girls and guys gone wild parties.
Okay.
So currently, their zoning in Winnetka, one of the Tony suburbs on the North Shore of Chicago, does not allow short-term rentals as an allowed use, but it's not really explicit. Partially because people want to be able to rent to their families, they want to be able to rent to their friends. When when somebody's having their house redone, they want to be able to lend a house, do
Yeah.
these kinds of things. So they don't want to really curb short-term rentals, but technically, current zoning laws say no. But despite this, this ban on short-term this zoning ban on short-term rentals, properties are starting to show up on Airbnb, and homeowners are getting concerned about these parties that have happened. They happened more during COVID, but they're still happening where people rent a house, have their big party, and leave. So at a recent meeting earlier this month, village trustees supported saying no to any stay shorter than 60 days with exemptions for friends and family and the needs of existing residents. And the needs of existing residents is code for, I need a place to crash while my house is being redone.
Yeah.
But what I didn't know is there are a whole bunch of communities that already have these bans. In the city, in the core of the city, or the fancier neighborhoods of the city, most of the buildings don't allow Airbnb.
The high rises don't for sure. Where you see it is in the walk-up buildings.
Some do, some are saying no to that too.
Right.
But Barrington, Northfield, Hanover Park, and Lincolnshire, recently, Skokie and Arlington Heights. Apparently, Skokie was having a problem with them. But Glen Ellen's ban is being challenged in court by an Airbnb operator. So more information coming. So these communities are claiming that there's noise and nuisance complaints. And though this is true, the potential to drive up housing costs, because if investors buy party houses and decide to make them effectively a venue for parties, then that's going to raise the value of those houses and drive out,
right, because people buy them based on an income.
Yeah.
As opposed to, wow.
So, interesting. I have a feeling Winnecka's going to do that. They haven't yet, but they're considering it. Brandon Holtz. This guy is he's a realtor in Bloomington Normal. And
my hometown.
Huh?
My hometown.
Your hometown. He won I'm looking here, the Mid-Amateur Championship in September. And because he won the Mid-Amateur Championship, he gets invited to the Masters and the US Open this year. So he played on Thursday and Friday and did not make the cut, but he finished 15 over after 2 days. But who among us doesn't think that's the greatest thing ever?
I know, that's so fun. Love that. Love that.
He was doing, or his team or office were doing work. He's got a new listing and a new closing while he's doing this. How cool is that? I think that is just the greatest.
Yeah, that's great.
And so I'm going to follow him at the US Open. Anyway. Oh, apparently another realtor, this one in Georgia, by the name of Scott Stallings, which also happens to be the name of a golfer. This Georgia realtor, Scott Stallings, is 60 years old and a casual golfer, but he got the invitation to the Masters that Scott,
by mistake,
professional, was supposed to get.
Oh,
I love that. Go realtors. Okay,
that's awesome.
So this is the house on Halsted where Roger Brown, one of the Harry Who artists in the late 60s and 70s, lived in. I don't think he ever owned it. I think he lived there. And it
Okay.
was being sold by the Art Institute, which owned the property. So it's this house that looks, in Lincoln Park, any house is like, goes for more. This was
Right.
on the market for 1,175,000, and it went for over. And I'm going to show you a couple pictures. First of all, nice architectural detail. This is not from him, Roger Brown. And so it was mainly used as sort of gallery space, but the rehabber is going to keep the exterior and modernize the interior. But I thought you should see a Roger Brown picture. This is one of his paintings. He was a American artist, leading figure of the Chicago Imagists, known for their stylized, surreal, and often humorous approach to pop culture and social commentary. He was born in Alabama, but went to University Art Institute for his BFA and his MFA and stayed. Isn't that kind of great?
Love that.
I love that. Okay. So the latest, the guy, so this man, and I forget his name, bought the house, the Jordan estate, for a little over $9 million, I think in 2024, and has been since then trying to figure out how to make money on it. So imagine $9 million and unable to figure out a way to make money. First, the buyer, the owner, wanted to sell timeshares in the property and make it sort of a common stay place, but Highland Park said no. And now the latest idea is to turn the property into a Graceland style museum to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is not involved in this. And the idea would be, because it is a residential neighborhood, was to enter the property through, there's a Heller Nature Center, and you would park somewhere and then be bussed into the Heller Nature Center, and then you would walk across the property and enter through the back gate. Couldn't go in the front gate. And the owner said the property would attract about 180,000 visitors a year.
The neighbors love that.
Can you imagine how quickly Highland Park said no? So that's the front gate. Still has the 23 on it. This is 2,700. I think it's Lane. So this is an example of the architecture of some of their neighbors on the same street. Big houses. None is sold in like the last 15 years, but that's an example of what the architecture on the street looks like.
Wow.
So that's on our mind.
Good stuff. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So we just looked at prices. Now I want to take a moment. Kyle and I are going to talk about what's really happening in Lincoln Park with condos. This is not single family. This is condos only. It's like, what's the story? So we're going to deconstruct the decade. What we're doing here is we're looking at what was going on in 2016 and then what is going on in 2026. Like, what is driving the prices up? How are things doing, et cetera, et cetera. So here are the stats, basically. Okay, so the median sales price was $400,000. Today it's $620,000. That's up 55. Pardon? Condos. Did I say single family?
No. I'm slow.
No, this is condos. Condos. I did condos and co-ops. This does not include townhomes.
Got it.
For this study. The mean or the average was 476. Now it's 742. Yeah. So that's up 56. The median days on market went from 30 to 8. What percent sold under 30 days? Almost 50% before, and now it's like 75% sell under 30 days. And the sale to list ratio was 97.7, and now it's 100%.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Red
So,
hot. Hottest-
so how much, the question then becomes,
Mm.
what's because we're dealing with medians with highs and lows, what's really going up in price? So this I thought was interesting. The median size unit that sold went from 1379 to 1400, and I would guess that's just realtors rounding up. I'm not sure it's even a real.
Yeah, that's the same. That's exactly the same size. So it's that's really interesting.
Okay, so.
And remember, in Lincoln Park, because a lot of the condos are really small, people often put 0. So it's very
Now, yeah. The median price per square foot went from $303 per square foot to $423. So that's a 40%. So one might say that that's the real appreciation.
Yep.
You with me?
Yep.
Okay. And then the next thing that's, I think, highly interesting is what's the structural mix? So 2 bedrooms accounted for 46%. Now they're only 39%. 3 bedrooms were 21.7, call it 22. Now they're 25%. And 4 bedrooms almost doubled from 4.8 to 8.6.
Now
So we
10 years. That's so interesting. What do you think is, because there hasn't been a ton of construction in 10 years in Lincoln Park just because there isn't enough land. I mean, there's construction, but there's not a ton of construction. So what is?
It's certainly not high rises, to your point.
Yeah.
There is the tearing down of a home and maybe making like we said earlier in the show, a 3-unit building where it's a duplex with maybe 4 bedrooms on the first floor and a 3rd and 4th floor duplex up with a 3-bedroom in the middle. But so there's a lot of that.
There is that, but again, considering how much property that is ownable versus renting, it just seems that in 10 years to have it be that much of a shift is very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Crazy stuff. Okay, so then it's like, who are the winners and who are the laggers? So 4 bedrooms, obviously the winners.
And 3 bedrooms.
They jumped in price from 903 to $1,425,000. Okay. The 1 bedrooms were the laggards. They increased the least at 25%. And
still,
I know, right? Yeah, still. But the thought was maybe that people who are thinking about buying a 1 bedroom are staying more in rentals until they can move to the 2 bedroom or higher.
Interesting. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And okay, so here's how it went luxury. I don't know if you can see, but like in 2016, properties over 2 million accounted for less than 1% of the market. And then if you look at the blue below, those 2 bedrooms account for 3.3% of the market. Now, remember, folks, again, this is condos. This is not, like single family homes here. $1 million to 2 was 2.8. Now it's 16%.
Wow.
That is enormous, an enormous jump. 500 to $1 million was 29%. Now it's 35%.
Yeah.
So under 300,000, it was 30%. Now it's 15.
Wow.
So that just shows how the luxury market, it's just become luxury. Yeah. Now here I find this so fascinating. New construction. Like, because when we did this analysis, we looked at all the homes and we said, how old are they at the point that they sold, right? So did they sell as new construction? Did they sell as vintage?
Got it.
All right.
Resale. Yeah.
In 2016, the median price of new construction was 805. In 2026, the median sales price of new construction was $1,370,000.
Wow.
So these builders are building luxury. They are not building entry-level homes.
Well,
There were exactly 0 new construction 1-bedrooms. So think about it. I'm even trying to think. 2550 Lakeview.
that was built well before. There
Yeah.
were bedrooms there, but it was built well before.
Yeah. So there have been no high rises with 1-bedrooms. And if you're building one of these 3-unit walk-up buildings, that's not a 1-bedroom. So 0 1-bedrooms.
I would say Orchard, but I don't know that they built any 1-bedrooms in the condo. They built a lot of rental 1-bedrooms in the surrounding buildings, but no, I don't think they built any condo.
Oh, you're thinking of the luxury building on Orchard? Yeah. Yeah. No, there were no 1-bedrooms there.
There are any 1-bedrooms in there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. So the market just stopped negotiating. It was 97, almost 98% of list price is the average sale to list price or list to sale price. But now everything's over 100%. And they're getting more. They're showing on this chart like how many are even over list price. It's just ridiculous. So negotiations, not really even a factor. And then the days on market is the huge difference. We went from 30 days to 8 days. And
Can we go back to the previous slide?
oh, of course we can.
So one of the things that I think is actually helping the sale to list ratio be so high, I think agents are getting even smarter about counseling their sellers to not price aspirationally, because the market takes care of getting you the aspirational price.
Absolutely.
Aspirationally, you often it won't sell, and then you have to drop the price and you get less. But I've noticed a lot of condos and houses being priced low and going for way over. So they're being savvy, not putting the aspiration in the list price, but letting the offers push it up, letting the interest boil it over.
Right. Because when they're priced right on target, they're getting mobbed with buyers. And then you're right. And then that pushes it up. All right. We talked about this before, the market time decreasing. And then here's the hidden cost squeeze. HOAs are going up. So the median HOA, this is a little difficult to read on the slide, but if you look at the lower left staircase, the median HOA went from 301 to 414. Now that's median. So obviously there are ones that are higher. A studio HOA, 459 is the average for a studio. So by the time you do taxes and HOA, I mean, that's a big bulk of your price.
Well, it's because studios are generally in high rises with higher HOA because they will have door staff, engineering, professional management. So you're not getting any studios in the $150 to $300 HOA buildings, though, the 3 flats or whatever, because they don't have studios.
Right.
So
right.
Studios get squeezed, to your point. Really excellent point. Wow.
Okay. So bottom line, what's the difference between the 2-bedroom was dominant in 2016 in Lincoln Park. Today, the 3 and 4 bedroom are more important than ever. And the lower end is squeezed by the HOAs. 30 days to 8 days, pace, velocity, and supply are just crazy. And pricing, the discount window, was open before, you could negotiate a little bit. And like today, the list price is the floor.
Yeah, floor.
It's the floor. So then here, this one slide now shows you if you are really need to be in Lincoln Park. If you're an empty nester, 4-bedroom owner, as a seller, you own the market. Everybody wants a bigger unit. If you are a luxury buyer competing for an exploding but fiercely competitive 1 million plus tier, you got to move fast, and list price is the floor, is what you need to know if you're looking to buy. Now, if you're a 1-bedroom owner, don't rely on aggressive short-term appreciation. You'll see appreciation, but not as high as the upper level. And if you're a buyer in the 1-bedroom, the sweet spot is 2 and 3 bedrooms, if you know, in terms of appreciation. So
Wow.
that's the story, Lori.
So much information. Wow.
So I hope that helps our viewers understand the market a little bit. You know, you and I were saying
the hottest neighborhood. Not all neighborhoods are Lincoln Park, but that just shows you the pressure that's happening in the Chicago market, as amplified by our hottest market.
Right.
And
now, next time I say we talk about near north, because that's a different ball game, and condos are approachable there. It's a really great place for people to be looking to buy, and we should talk about that next time. Any other parting words of wisdom before we say goodbye?
Just everyone have a great week.
Yeah. Don't forget to follow us on socials, subscribe to our YouTube channels, and reach out when you have questions about buying in the downtown Chicago market. Thanks for watching, everybody.